Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What if every tiny distraction was silently robbing you of your future success? What if the secret to attracting wealth wasn't chasing money, but becoming someone too valuable to ignore? And what if your entire life could change by answering one simple question? Am I growing, or just going through the motions? Every distraction you allow in doesn't just cost you time. It chips away at your greatness. But when you commit to becoming more valuable, more skilled, and more disciplined, everything begins to shift. Wealth follows, not just in dollars, but in respect, in opportunity, in inner strength. Chase everything, and you'll catch nothing. But build yourself, consistently, deliberately, and you'll attract everything you once chased. The world doesn't reward noise, it rewards substance. It honors those who offer real value. So ask yourself, will you rise to your true worth, or continue to go unnoticed, hiding in plain sight? That choice shapes everything that comes next. In the next few minutes, you'll uncover how to elevate your value, strengthen your mindset, and unlock a wealth far beyond finances, starting from within. Here's the truth. Your value determines your wealth. You're not paid for the time you put in. You're paid for the value you bring to that time. And if your value is low, your income will expose it ruthlessly. This isn't a punishment. It's a principle, a law of life. So the real question isn't, how can I earn more? The real question is, how can I become more valuable? Because value draws wealth like gravity pulls everything toward the earth. You increase your value by sharpening your mind, mastering your thoughts, and refining your presence. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every relationship you nurture, all of it compounds. But here's where most people fall short. They stop growing the moment they leave school. They treat graduation like the finish line, not realizing it's just the beginning of their real education. Growth is a daily decision. You must choose, right now, to outgrow the person you were yesterday. Train your mind like your future depends on it, because it does. Study the lives of those who became invaluable. George Washington didn't rise to leadership by being the loudest. He rose because he became indispensable, the kind of man others could trust with the weight of leadership. So ask yourself, can the world count on you? Can your family rely on your wisdom? Can your team move forward under your vision? If the answer isn't a confident yes, then your next move is clear. It's time to grow. So start now. Work on becoming that person, the one that success is drawn to. Because here's the truth. Wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you attract. You could spend your whole life running after money and still come up empty. Why? Because money doesn't answer desperation, it answers structure. It responds to alignment, to clarity, to discipline. You don't need to run harder. You need to build better. Become the kind of person that wealth is magnetized to. Someone who lives with intention, who moves with purpose. When your actions and values align, abundance starts to follow you naturally. Imagine your mind as a magnet. What's it pulling in? If it's filled with fear, jealousy, and self-doubt, it pushes prosperity away. But if it's grounded in gratitude, sharpened by focus, and guided by integrity, you begin to draw in opportunities without force or struggle. The truth is, wealthy people didn't just accumulate money. They became wealth from the inside out. To attract more, start by cleaning up what's within. Refine your habits. Clear your thinking. Be the one who arrives early, stays late, and tackles the hard work with genuine enthusiasm. That's how value is built. Not through shortcuts, but through steady, deliberate growth. Now, this isn't about being flawless. It's about being focused. Precision over perfection. Excellence over ego. You must aim to be exceptional in your craft, in your character, and in your level of commitment. Take John D. Rockefeller, for example. He didn't inherit massive wealth. He created it, not just by understanding oil, but by recognizing opportunity and acting on it with relentless strategy. While others gambled and hoped, he studied, planned, and persisted. That's the difference. Because wealth, at its core, is not a reward for the lucky. It's a response to preparation. So don't ask, how can I catch success? Instead, ask, am I preparing to receive it? The wealthiest people don't wait for miracles. They build systems. They create repeatable value. Their success isn't born from occasional bursts of effort. but from consistent discipline and a long-term mindset. Money is drawn to structure, to businesses that solve real problems, to investments made with patience, not panic. And the true test? It's in the quiet moments, the disciplines you keep when no one's watching. That's where wealth begins. Think of how nature works. A garden doesn't chase the sun. It doesn't beg for light. It simply positions itself to receive. The same is true with wealth. It flows toward those who've positioned themselves correctly within the economic ecosystem. Your daily financial habits, how you spend, save, and invest, those are the soil in which prosperity takes root. Debt, it suffocates growth. But savings? They create space for opportunity. So ask yourself, are you chasing the sun or positioning yourself to shine? Impulse spending breeds disorder. It throws your finances into chaos and clouds your future. But strategic investing? That builds structure. It's intentional. Every choice you make, every dollar you spend or save, either draws abundance closer or pushes it further away. Wealthy people don't just have different numbers in their bank accounts. They operate from entirely different belief systems. They don't see money as something to chase after or hoard. They see it as a natural byproduct of solving problems and creating real value. To them, wealth isn't the goal. It's the result, a reflection of who they've become and what they consistently deliver. So stop wearing yourself out chasing after money. Instead, focus on becoming the kind of person prosperity is drawn to. Develop strength of character. Hone your competence. Build consistency into your habits and actions. Grow your skill set to the point where the market has no choice but to take notice. Nurture relationships based on real, mutual value, not convenience or quick gain. Show up ready to solve problems with such clarity and excellence that your work speaks louder than your words. When you do that, compensation becomes not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Never forget, wealth doesn't flow to the one who wants it most. It flows to the one who's earned it through their thinking, their doing, and their becoming. Set goals so clear, so specific, they ignite something inside you. Most people wander through life with dreams wrapped in fog, then wonder why they never arrive. But without clarity, even the hardest work leads nowhere. If your goals are blurry, your results will be, too. You can't hit a target you don't even see. Setting goals isn't just jotting down nice ideas on a piece of paper. It's about shaping your future with intention and fire. It's about declaring, this is who I'm becoming. This is what I will accomplish. Your goals should stretch you. They should shake you out of your comfort zone, not because they're out of reach, but because they demand growth, focus, and transformation. Break your goals into 3 sharp questions. What do you want? When do you want it? And most importantly, what price are you willing to pay to achieve it? Then stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself, am I truly willing to pay that price? Are you willing to pay in discipline, in sacrifice, in relentless focus? Because that's the real cost of greatness. Look at Winston Churchill. His goal wasn't vague. It was precise, focused, and fiery. Victory, absolute and unshakable. That level of clarity, that's what fuels unbreakable commitment. That kind of clarity, it moved a nation through chaos. And it's the same clarity you must carry into your own life. Don't just think about your goals. Write them down, carve them deep into your heart, and revisit them every single morning like a warrior studying his battle orders. This is not a future to tiptoe into. This is your calling. So march into it with boldness, with direction. When your goals are written with clarity, your subconscious mind quietly begins working toward them, even while you sleep. It starts to filter your choices, your focus, your environment. All in alignment with your mission. Your brain becomes like a heat-seeking missile, scanning your world for hidden opportunities that an unfocused mind would never detect. That's the power of clarity. It creates momentum. The more specific your goals, the more deliberate and powerful your actions become. Each morning when you open your eyes, you should know exactly what mountain you're climbing. That kind of precision strips away confusion, erases hesitation, and frees up your energy to cut through obstacles like a laser through steel. But clarity doesn't end with setting goals. It lives in how you manage them. Your goals must be written, measured, and reviewed regularly. Because what remains unexamined is easily forgotten, and what's unmeasured can never be improved. Your goals aren't just hopeful ideas. They are commitments etched into your timeline. The most successful people in the world, they don't rely on better luck or easier lives. They operate with sharper clarity. They don't sit around hoping for success. They define it, and then they pursue it relentlessly. They never wake up wondering what matters. They've already decided. Every day is guided by that decision. So burn away the fog of confusion. Get so clear about your targets that missing becomes nearly impossible. Let your goals be so vivid, so defined. They wake you up in the middle of the night and pull you forward through the day. Because clarity isn't just a component of success, it is the foundation. Without it, your actions become scattered, your time fragmented, your energy wasted. But with clarity, even the smallest effort builds towards something greater. Guard your time like it's gold, because it is. Time is the currency of your entire life. Spend it without thinking, and it disappears into nothing. Invest it with intention, and it shapes who you become. Waste your time, and you waste your future. Those with wealthy minds. They treat every hour like sacred ground. They don't just fill time, they multiply it. They understand the difference between movement and progress. And they know the power of saying no with love and yes with strategy. Because every distraction has a price. Every hour wasted is a theft from your future self. That's why you must protect your time fiercely. From gossip, from negativity, from people who drain your energy but never build with you. Do this simple test. Track your time for 1 week. Write down exactly where each hour goes. What would your results reveal? You might be surprised, even shocked, to discover just how much of your destiny you've been giving away, hour by hour, without realizing it. But here's the good news. You can take it back. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not squander time, for that's the stuff life is made of." And he lived it. He didn't just invent things. He invented time that worked in his favor. That's how he built his value, his impact, his legacy. From this moment forward, think of your time as a bank account. One that only allows withdrawals, never deposits. Every second is a withdrawal. So the question is, where are you investing it? Choose to invest your time where it compounds. In learning, in building, in creating. Time itself isn't renewable, but the results it produces? They can ripple through generations. The problem is, most people treat time as if it's unlimited. They hand over their hours to meaningless tasks, aimless scrolling, empty conversations, and never question the return on that investment. But these aren't harmless little habits. They're silent thieves. Every unproductive hour is a direct withdrawal from your life's potential. The wealthy, the fulfilled, the accomplished, they all know one truth. The idea of having more time is an illusion. Everyone gets the same 24 hours. The difference isn't found in how much time they have. It's in how ruthlessly they protect each precious minute and how strategically they spend it. Think about how often your focus is interrupted throughout the day. Most people let their attention get hijacked dozens of times. A quick check of a message, a random scroll, a sudden notification, and it's gone. But the real cost isn't just those brief seconds. It's the 20+ minutes it takes to fully recover your original level of concentration. This is why deep work, focused, uninterrupted creation, must be scheduled, protected, and respected as seriously as your most important meetings. Start treating your calendar like a fortress, not a suggestion box. Block off time for your highest priorities before the world can claim it. Don't let your schedule be a free-for-all. An open calendar is an open invitation for others to steer your life in directions you didn't choose. And if there's one part of the day to guard above all else, it's your mornings. These early hours are pure gold. Fresh energy, sharp focus. These moments are meant for your most meaningful work, not for putting out fires or reacting to someone else's chaos. Learn to audit your commitments regularly. Ask yourself a simple but powerful question. If I weren't already doing this, would I choose to start now? If the answer is no, then it's time to create an exit strategy. Why? Because the courage to let go of good things is what creates room for great things. That's what separates the extraordinary from the constantly busy. In the end, the quality of your life is tied directly to how you allocate your time. Not just what you do, but what you choose to walk away from. When you guard your time, you're not just protecting minutes on a clock, you're protecting your potential. You're preserving the space you need to create meaningful work, to serve others with excellence, and to build a legacy that reaches far beyond your lifetime. So where do you begin? Start by identifying your 3 most valuable activities, the ones that generate outsized results in your life and work. These are the tasks that move the needle, the actions that compound over time. Once you've named them, be relentless. Eliminate, delegate, or drastically reduce everything else that competes for your attention. Because the goal isn't just to manage time. It's to invest it where the returns are highest. Imagine if every minute you spent brought value back into your life. That's not fantasy, that's strategy. When you begin treating time as the priceless asset it is, something shifts. Your life moves from being chaotic to intentional, from scattered to sharply focused, from simply existing to becoming extraordinary. But remember this, before you build wealth, you must first build character. Many chase financial success, but few are willing to become the kind of person capable of carrying that success with wisdom. And that's why wealth often slips through so many hands. Because money without character is a recipe for collapse. Real wealth doesn't begin in a bank account. It begins within your spirit. Character shows up when it's inconvenient. It's doing what's right when no one is watching, when applause is absent, when shortcuts are available but your conscience says no. It means keeping your word even when it's hard, staying composed under pressure, and treating everyone, regardless of status, with dignity and respect. Look at the wealthiest people in history. Their riches weren't only measured in dollars, but in principles. Andrew Carnegie built an industrial empire, but he also gave away billions. Why? Because he believed that wealth without generosity was just another form of poverty, one dressed in luxury, but empty at the core. His character didn't just shape his fortune. It multiplied his impact. And you don't need to start big. Begin with small, consistent acts. Tell the truth when it costs you. Return what isn't yours. Finish what you said you would. These simple actions build a type of wealth no economic collapse can touch. So ask yourself, can your future trust you? Can success rest in your hands without fear of being misused or mishandled? If the answer isn't a firm yes, then the next step is clear. Start building your foundation now. Because true riches are like a temple. They can only rise when built on solid ground. Character is that solid ground. It's the invisible architecture of long-term success. Skills might get you noticed. Strategies might make you money. But only character will sustain what you build. History is filled with examples of brilliant, talented people who soared to great heights, only to crash under the weight of their own achievements. Why? Because their character couldn't support the level of success their talents had earned. The market might pay for skill, but it rewards character. Anyone can learn a tactic, but integrity, that must be forged in moments of tension, in tough decisions, in quiet acts of discipline that no one ever sees. Every time you honor your commitments when it would be easier to walk away, you grow. Every time you admit a mistake when hiding it feels safer, you're laying a brick in the foundation of your future. These are the unseen moments that shape the life you're building. Because wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you attract. You could spend your entire life running after money and still come up empty-handed. Why? Because money doesn't answer desperation. It responds to order, to structure, to purpose. It flows toward those who operate in alignment with clarity and discipline. So no, you don't need to run faster. You need to become someone wealth is drawn to. Picture your mind as a magnet. If it's overwhelmed by fear, jealousy, and self-doubt, you'll naturally repel prosperity. But if it's clear, filled with gratitude, sharpened by focus, and rooted in integrity, then opportunities will start finding their way to you, often without you even chasing them. The truly wealthy didn't just earn money, they became it. Internally, first in identity, then in results. To attract that level of abundance, you have to clean up your habits, straighten out your thoughts, be the one who shows up early, stays late, and tackles hard work with a glad and willing heart. This isn't about being flawless, it's about being precise. You must become excellent in your craft, excellent in your character, and excellent in your consistency. That's how true wealth is built. Take John D. Rockefeller. He didn't inherit vast riches. He attracted them by mastering both oil and opportunity. True wealth isn't defined by what you possess. It's defined by what possesses you. Are you driven by greed, or are you anchored in purpose? Do you chase status, or do you cherish substance? These questions aren't just philosophical. They reveal whether you're truly building wealth or just chasing after money that won't stay. And here's the truth. The time to build character is now, not when your bank account grows, not when circumstances feel ideal. Begin regardless of your current financial state. Practice radical honesty in all your dealings. Keep your promises, and do it with enthusiasm, not resistance. Give credit freely and own your mistakes quickly. Invite feedback, especially on your blind spots, the areas you can't see, but everyone else can. These habits won't show up on any financial statement, but they are the bedrock upon which lasting wealth is built. Why? Because character, once developed, behaves like compound interest. It grows quietly, steadily, and with increasing power over time. At first, character seems invisible, a quiet force that no one sees. But over time, it becomes undeniable. Suddenly, it's substantial. It starts to attract the kind of opportunities money can't buy. The trust of others, lasting loyalty, and the rare chance to create real, meaningful impact. So build character first. Let wealth come after. This isn't just some moral principle passed down in stories. It's a practical strategy for creating a kind of prosperity that uplifts you rather than corrupts you. Because without character, success can become your downfall. But with it, success becomes a platform, not just for achievement, but for transformation. And there's one force that protects that platform, that anchors your growth and keeps your vision on course: discipline. Discipline is the gatekeeper of wealth. No dream, no matter how inspiring, can survive without it. Think of discipline as the invisible wall that separates where you are now from where you want to be. Talent might open the first few doors, but only discipline keeps them open. Without it, even the most gifted minds drift into mediocrity, because brilliance without consistency fades. Discipline means showing up when you're tired. It means focusing even when your mind is distracted. It's pushing through on the days when your motivation is nowhere to be found. That's where strength is built. In the ordinary moments you choose not to quit. Discipline breeds resilience. And resilience? That's the true source of value. Start with the basics. Create structure in your life. Wake up at the same time each day. Follow a schedule that feeds your goals, not your impulses. Say no to distractions that steal your time and dilute your energy. Build daily rituals that support your future, not just for today, but for the life you're designing. Think of discipline like a muscle. It doesn't grow overnight. It gets stronger through small, consistent reps. Nikola Tesla is a powerful example. He lived with almost monk-like discipline, often working 20-hour days fueled by nothing but vision and focus. While others were out celebrating, he was preparing. And today, his legacy shapes the very world you live in. So ask yourself, truthfully, are your current habits aligned with your biggest ambitions? If not, it's time to restructure your life until they are. Because your future isn't built on bursts of motivation. It's built on daily commitment, on showing up over and over again, long after the excitement fades. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's restrictive, like a punishment. But real discipline is freedom. It doesn't limit your life. It expands it. It doesn't rob you of pleasure. It gives you deeper, lasting satisfaction. The disciplined person doesn't live with less freedom. They simply trade short-term comfort for long-term impact. And that's a trade worth making. Look at any field where human excellence has left a mark. Art, science, business, invention. Behind every masterpiece, every groundbreaking idea, and every enduring fortune, there's a quiet force at work: disciplined practice. It's the painter who shows up to the canvas, day after day, even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. It's the entrepreneur who pores over numbers while others are winding down. It's the writer who puts words on the page whether the muse shows up or not. Their success doesn't come from raw talent or luck. It comes from something far less glamorous: a relentless commitment to consistent action. That's the real secret. Discipline is what creates the gap between average and exceptional. Talent? It's surprisingly common. It exists in every community, in every corner of the world. But discipline? That's rare. And that's why you'll often see individuals with modest abilities quietly outpacing those with extraordinary potential. They've tapped into the compound effect of daily discipline. Small, repeatable actions that, while seemingly insignificant on their own, become transformative when accumulated over time. Just like drops of water can wear down stone, those small habits, when done with intention and consistency, can shape entire lives. Financial success follows these very same principles. The wealthiest individuals aren't always the smartest in the room. They aren't necessarily the most connected or the most privileged. What sets them apart is their discipline with resources. They don't spend money based on emotion. They spend based on intention. They don't invest when they feel like it. They invest on principle, systematically. They don't delay gratification out of self-denial. They delay because they understand something deeper: the compounding power of smart decisions made early and consistently. And in today's world, that level of discipline requires even more strength. Because modern society has weaponized distraction. Every ping, every scroll, every shiny new form of entertainment, it's all engineered to hijack your attention and chip away at your focus. So resisting those forces isn't just a matter of personal preference anymore. It's become a form of strategic warfare, a battle for the quality of your future. And every time you choose focus over distraction, you're doing more than just finishing a task. You're taking a stand. You're reinforcing a foundation. You're claiming back control in a world that's constantly trying to pull you in 100 directions. You're not just checking off tasks. You're quietly building something powerful: the capacity to create wealth. And the most potent form of discipline? It's the one no one sees. It's not performed for praise or applause. It lives in the background, in private victories that silently lay the groundwork for public success. It's saying no to that extra drink when no one's watching. It's waking up before the world expects you to. It's choosing to read instead of scroll. It's saving when the impulse is to spend. These seemingly small, hidden acts of control are what form the unshakable foundation beneath visible achievement. So begin today. Start cultivating wealth-building discipline, no matter how small the first step seems. 5 focused minutes. 1 conscious decision. A single upgraded habit. Then, gradually expand your capacity. Because discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands persistence. The goal isn't to execute flawlessly. The goal is to progress so consistently that stopping becomes harder than continuing. And don't forget this: discipline is meant to serve your vision, not enslave you. Without a meaningful purpose behind it, discipline becomes little more than exhausting routine. But when anchored to a deep sense of purpose, it becomes something entirely different. It becomes passionate persistence. Define what matters most to you. Then build disciplines that fuel that mission. Because your greatest wealth won't come from a sudden breakthrough or an occasional burst of energy. It will come from the small things you do consistently, with focus and integrity. This is the gatekeeper's test, and few pass it. But those who do build fortunes that go beyond money. They build lives of impact. The world doesn't need another average performer. You weren't born to be replaceable. You were born to master something so thoroughly, so uniquely, that the world can't look away. True wealth doesn't come from doing what everyone else is doing. It comes from doing what others can't, or won't, because they gave up before mastery began. Most people dabble. They sample passions. They change direction every month, hoping something sticks. But the few who rise, they commit. They go deeper, while others stay shallow. They focus not on everything, but on becoming the best at solving one problem. The deeper your expertise, the greater your value. So ask yourself, what is the one thing you can do better than most? Then pour yourself into it. Study it. Practice it. Improve it. Repeat it. Obsess not over perfection, but over progress. Because excellence isn't a gift, it's a decision. One you make hour by hour. Think about Isaac Newton. He didn't invent gravity. He simply paid attention to it more deeply than anyone else had. He made himself irreplaceable by daring to go where no mind had yet explored. So ask yourself, in your own work, would anyone notice if you stopped showing up? If the answer is no, then your next step is clear. Become someone the world can't ignore. Build yourself until the answer is yes, until the world notices when you're not in the room. Because in today's economy, the greatest rewards don't go to the busiest people. They go to the most specialized. While generalists often struggle to stand out, those who master a specific domain command attention, respect, and premium compensation. And that's not by chance. It's the natural result of focused expertise. When you learn how to solve a specific problem better than anyone else, you don't just earn a paycheck. You earn leverage. You gain power, choice, and positioning that can't be bought or imitated. Irreplaceability doesn't begin with luck. It begins with a decision. The decision to be exceptional in one domain instead of being average in many. This doesn't mean you ignore supporting skills or stop learning beyond your focus. But it does mean your life, your brand, your contribution must revolve around a core competency that becomes your signature. The goal is not to do everything. It's to do one thing so remarkably well that the market creates demand around you. Think of elite craftspeople. Some charge 6 figures for a single project. They're not selling products off a shelf. They're offering decades of refined judgment, thousands of hours of deliberate, often unseen practice, and a result that no one else can easily replicate. That kind of uniqueness creates scarcity, and scarcity always creates value. But to walk that path, you have to begin with something most people avoid: intellectual honesty. You must be brutally clear about where you actually stand right now. Most people fall into the same trap. They overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what they could achieve in 5 years with discipline. So they jump ship when mastery feels too far away, only to start over again in a new area, repeating the same cycle. And that cycle? It leads straight to perpetual mediocrity. Break free by choosing depth over breadth. Start with an honest self-assessment. What problems do you already solve better than most of the people around you? Where do your natural strengths intersect with real market needs? That's your starting point. Then chart your course toward mastery with intention. Don't just read one book on your topic. Read every important book in your field. Study the classics, the modern thinkers, the outliers. Look at trends. Understand systems. Because mastery doesn't come from dabbling. It comes from deliberate immersion and the courage to stay when others would switch lanes. Don't just study the rules, study the exceptions. Don't just learn from the winners, learn from those who failed and why. Because becoming irreplaceable doesn't come from simply meeting expectations. It comes from redefining them. The professionals who become legendary, they're not the ones who merely hit the target. They're the ones who change where the target is placed. They reshape what excellence looks like in their field. And they don't do it out of ego. They do it because that's where breakthrough value is born, at the edge, beyond comfort, beyond convention. When you operate at that level, the game changes. You stop chasing opportunities, and opportunities start chasing you. But here's something often overlooked. Being irreplaceable isn't just about technical brilliance. It's also about interpersonal distinctiveness. How you show up, how you solve problems, how you communicate solutions, how you build trust in every interaction. All of this creates a professional fingerprint, a signature as unique as your DNA. And the goal? Cultivate that signature until people recognize your work without ever seeing your name attached to it. Until your presence, your touch, your approach become unmistakable. Of course, that level of mastery comes at a price. The journey to irreplaceability requires sacrifice. You'll have to trade the dabbler's variety for the master's depth. You'll have to let go of quick wins and embrace the long game of delayed excellence. You'll be working while others rest, learning when others relax, sharpening your edge when others go dull. But every one of those moments, those unseen efforts, compound over time. And what they build is something rare, a professional moat that protects you from being replaced, undercut, or ignored. Start now. Choose your domain of mastery, the one thing you're willing to go all in on. Then commit with monastic focus. No distractions, no second guessing, no shortcuts. You won't become irreplaceable overnight. But with consistent, deliberate investment, you'll build something no market crash, no tech disruption, no rival can take away. And while you're building your skill, don't forget the fuel. Feed your mind with intention. Because just like your body can't thrive on junk food, your mind can't thrive on mental noise. You become what you consume. If you fill your mind with weak content, your output, your ideas, your work, your thinking will be even weaker. So guard your mind like a soldier guards the gate. Be intentional with what you allow in. Eliminate the garbage, the sensationalist news, the toxic conversations, the distractions that plant fear and doubt in your heart. Because if your mind is your most valuable asset, why let anything pollute it? So instead of passively consuming noise, choose to feed your mind with power. Read books that stretch your thinking. Listen to people who've walked the path you dream of taking. Speak words that align with the person you're working to become. Make it a daily ritual. Create a list of mental fuel that energizes your mind and uplifts your spirit. It could be a quote that anchors your morning, a chapter from a book that sparks insight, a meaningful conversation with someone who challenges you to grow. Keep your thoughts sharp and your emotions clean, because both shape how you experience the world. Gerald Spurgeon, the preacher whose words still echo with power today, read hundreds of books before the age of 20. He didn't fill his mind with foolishness. He filled it with wisdom. And that's why his voice still ignites souls generations later. What you allow into your mind determines how you think. How you think determines how you act. And how you act ultimately determines what you earn. not just financially, but emotionally, relationally, spiritually. So if you want more from life, the starting point is simple. Start with what you're feeding your mind. The human brain is a high-performance filter system. Every day, it sifts through thousands of inputs, words, images, sounds, conversations, and transforms them into beliefs, decisions, and eventually, results. But here's the problem. Most people never take control of this filtering process. They leave it to chance. They absorb whatever lands in front of them, social media, gossip, sensational headlines, without asking whether it's helping or hurting. That passive approach, it leads straight to mediocrity. The most successful, high-performing individuals know better. They treat their mental intake with the same precision they apply to financial investments. They understand that attention is their most valuable currency, and they allocate it with care and clarity. They realize that every piece of information they allow into their consciousness becomes part of their internal operating system. It either builds or breaks. It either expands or constrains. That's why you must begin treating your mental diet like you would your physical one. Be intentional. Be disciplined. Audit your inputs. Ask yourself, does this news feed give me insight or just anxiety? Do these social media accounts inspire action or fuel comparison and insecurity? Do the conversations I engage in stretch my thinking or keep me locked in outdated beliefs? Because whether you realize it or not, your environment is shaping you, with or without your permission. The highest performers in every field build daily habits around intentional mental consumption. They begin each morning with purpose, reading something that expands them, reflecting strategically, or exploring creative ideas before the noise of the world can creep in. They understand that how you start your day shapes the trajectory of everything that follows. So protect your mind fiercely. Guard it from inputs that drain your energy or lower your emotional state. Things that trigger envy, fear, outrage, or victimhood. Because the quality of your inputs determines the strength of your output. And in a distracted world, clarity is your advantage. Emotional states like envy, outrage, or victimhood might feel momentarily satisfying. They offer a quick surge, a hit of intensity that masks discomfort. But beneath that surface lies a deeper cost. These emotions alter your internal chemistry, cloud your judgment, and ultimately diminish your performance. So what's the alternative? Feed your mind with content that cultivates clarity, confidence, creativity, and compassion. These are the emotional foundations that sharpen your decisions, strengthen your presence, and expand your potential. Your mental diet should include more than comfort. It should include discomfort with purpose. Expose yourself regularly to ideas that live outside your current worldview. Seek out content and conversations that challenge your assumptions, not to spark defensiveness, but to stretch your perspective and elevate your understanding. This isn't about surrounding yourself with arguments. It's about discovering frameworks that shift how you see yourself, your work, and the world. And remember, your mental inputs aren't just limited to what you read or hear. They include the environments you occupy, the questions you ask, and the challenges you willingly face. So begin designing your life around experiences that build mental strength rather than drain it. Don't just aim to consume better information. Aim to process it more deeply. The disciplined mind doesn't stop at understanding. It integrates. It absorbs. It applies. Develop habits that make the content you consume come alive. Journal the insights that strike a chord. Teach the concepts you're learning to others, because when you teach, you remember. Apply new ideas directly to your work, even in small ways. This is how knowledge transforms into wisdom, through intentional engagement, not passive consumption. It's a kind of mental metabolism, taking in raw information and converting it into lasting capability. Start today. Identify just one toxic source of information, something that consistently drains your energy or clouds your thinking, and remove it. Then replace it with one source of genuine wisdom. It could be a book, a mentor, a podcast, or a practice. You'll notice the shift immediately. Because the moment you upgrade what your mind consumes, your life begins to reflect that upgrade. Your thoughts shape your actions. Your actions shape your habits. And your habits shape your destiny. So take full ownership of your path. The very moment you choose to blame, the instant you cast responsibility onto someone or something else, is the moment you give away your power. Excuses may offer temporary comfort, but they quietly steal your strength. If you truly want to become wealthy in finances, in purpose, in self-respect, you must accept full responsibility for everything in your life. Yes, even the painful parts. Even the parts that weren't your fault. Because ownership isn't about blame. It's about control. If someone else is to blame, then someone else holds the keys to your future. But if it's in your hands, then you can shape it, mold it, and transform it. That's where real power lies. And it doesn't start with something big. It starts small, with your attitude, your habits, your reactions to the everyday challenges life throws at you. Don't wait for ideal conditions. They rarely come. Don't lean on luck. It's unreliable at best. Instead, build your life, piece by piece, with your own hands and mind. Step by step, decision by decision. So pause and ask yourself, what exactly are you waiting for? Who are you quietly holding responsible for your progress? Now is the time to take back the reins. This is your life. Make it count. Ownership begins with a subtle but powerful shift in mindset. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do with this? That single pivot changes everything. It moves you from victim to creator, from passive observer to active architect. You may not have chosen the circumstances, but your response? That's always within your control. Most people live in reaction mode. They allow their environment to dictate their direction. They blame the economy, their childhood, their manager, or their supposed limitations. And in the moment, that story feels safe. Because if external forces are to blame, then failure isn't really your fault. But that kind of comfort comes with a hidden cost, your power. True ownership means giving up the hunt for someone or something to point fingers at. It means turning inward. It means looking in the mirror and saying with courage, I am responsible for where I am, and I am capable of creating where I go next. At first, that truth might feel heavy, like a burden. But over time, it becomes the most liberating belief you can hold. Because when you own your situation, you also claim ownership of the solution. Now apply that to wealth creation. The average person blames their financial struggles on low income, bad timing, or lack of opportunity. But the person who builds wealth thinks differently. They ask better questions. How can I increase my value? How can I serve at a higher level? How can I turn this obstacle into an opportunity? They don't wait for the perfect conditions. They create the conditions that work. And ownership doesn't stop at your actions. It extends to your emotions, too. Many people believe their feelings are dictated by what happens around them. But is that really true? Statements like, you made me angry, or this situation is stressing me out, may feel natural. But they quietly hand over your emotional power to something or someone outside of you. This mindset surrenders your emotional sovereignty to circumstances. But real strength begins when you take ownership of your emotions by recognizing this truth. It's not the events themselves, but your interpretation of them that creates your emotional state. So how do you reclaim that power? Start small. Practice radical responsibility in everyday moments. When you make a mistake, own it, fully and without excuse. No deflection, no qualifiers. When a project doesn't go as planned, don't rush to point fingers. Instead, ask, what could I have done differently? That single question shifts your focus from blame to growth. And when obstacles inevitably appear, don't waste energy complaining. Channel it instead toward the one thing that always remains within your control, your response. Here's the truth. The ownership mindset becomes most valuable when life gets hard. While most people use adversity as justification for lowering their expectations, the ownership-driven individual sees hardship as a testing ground, a space to demonstrate creativity, grit, and resourcefulness. Because they understand something others don't, constraints often spark levels of creativity that comfort never could. Let's be clear, ownership doesn't mean accepting blame for what is truly beyond your control. You didn't cause the rainstorm, but you can choose whether or not to carry an umbrella. You didn't create a volatile economy, but you can adjust your strategy, refine your skills, or pivot with intelligence. Enduring wealth, the kind that lasts, isn't built on luck. It's built on a mentality of ownership. It shows up as reliability that earns client trust, as resilience that weathers downturns, as resourcefulness that turns roadblocks into revenue. So begin today. Identify just one area where you've been waiting for someone else to change or for something external to shift. Now ask yourself, what can I do, regardless of what others do or don't do? That question is the doorway to ownership. And once ownership is activated, everything else starts to move. Next, turn your attention to your environment. Because your environment is either your cage, keeping you limited and small, or your catalyst, propelling you toward your potential. If you surround yourself with small minds, with people who think in limitations, you will shrink to fit their reality. But if you place yourself in the company of big vision, bold action, and unwavering standards, you will grow into something more, something stronger, sharper, and more expansive. You rise or fall based on the people around you. You grow into the character and standards of those you associate with. So audit your circle. Ask yourself, who challenges me to level up? Who expands my thinking? And who, even unintentionally, keeps me locked in excuses? You must be intentional, even ruthless, about who you allow into your space. Seek mentors. Learn from people further ahead on the path. Build relationships based on progress, not just comfort. Because comfort may feel safe, but progress is what transforms your life. Collaborate with people who make you better, not bitter. Choose those who sharpen your thinking, challenge your assumptions, and bring out your best, even when it's uncomfortable. Take James Watt, the industrialist whose steam engine helped ignite the Industrial Revolution. His breakthroughs didn't happen in isolation. They were the result of years of collaboration with other brilliant minds. Iron sharpens iron. So take inventory. Who are you spending your time with? And more importantly, are they elevating you or enabling your stagnation? If you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to change rooms. Surround yourself with people who force you to level up, not because they demand it, but because their standards make you want to rise. Because wealth flows where wisdom gathers. The human mind is deeply influenced by its surroundings. Whether you realize it or not, you're absorbing the attitudes, beliefs, and habits of the people closest to you. This happens subtly, invisibly, without needing permission or intention. And over time, that influence shapes your ambition. It either limits your expectations or lifts them. It defines what feels normal, and therefore what becomes possible. Your inner circle doesn't just reflect who you are. It predicts who you'll become. Yet most people build their relationships by default, based on convenience, shared geography, or emotional familiarity. They keep the company of whoever happens to be near, rather than those who could help them grow. But extraordinary results demand extraordinary inputs. You must intentionally engineer your environment to elevate your potential, not limit it. Start with a raw, honest evaluation of your current circle. Ask yourself, do they celebrate your growth, or quietly feel threatened by it? Do they focus on problems or solutions? Are they committed to their own development, or stuck in place? These questions will tell you whether the people in your life are appreciating assets or depreciating liabilities. Now, this doesn't mean cutting off loyal friends or abandoning your roots. Strategic relationship building isn't about manipulation or cold calculation. It's about expansion. It's about widening your circle to include those who pull you forward. Keep the foundational relationships that nourish your values, but at the same time, actively seek out those who operate at higher levels of creativity, discipline, and purpose. Find the people who are already doing what you aspire to do. Learn from them. Connect with them. Because when you spend time in rooms where your vision is normal, even expected, your standards begin to shift. And when your standards shift, so does your trajectory. When you spend time with high-caliber individuals, something powerful happens. Their presence normalizes excellence. Suddenly, what once seemed ambitious now feels like the standard. Their habits begin to influence yours. Their discipline rubs off. Their expansive thinking stretches the limits of what you thought was possible. Their mindset recalibrates your own. But the true power of strategic relationships goes far beyond inspiration. It lies in opportunity flow. Your network becomes an ecosystem, not just of support, but of access. Ideas start to circulate. Doors begin to open. Resources that once felt out of reach start to materialize. Not because of chance, but because of the connections you've deliberately cultivated. The truth is, the most valuable opportunities rarely arrive through official job boards or public announcements. They surface through trusted relationships, through networks that operate quietly, yet powerfully, at the edge of innovation and influence. So don't just expand your circle, diversify it. Connect with masters of craft, business visionaries, creative thinkers, and individuals of rare character. Why? Because this diversity of excellence protects you from blind spots and sparks innovation through the collision of perspectives. Unique value is often born where disciplines overlap. But don't forget, true elevation demands reciprocity. Don't just enter relationships to extract value. Show up to create it. Become the kind of person people are excited to have in their circle. Someone who brings thoughtful listening, genuine encouragement, practical insight, steady reliability, and above all, unwavering integrity. Because the path to wealth, influence, and lasting impact runs straight through the quality of your relationships. So choose your circle with care, cultivate it with intention, and watch how your external environment begins to elevate your internal standards. Your life expands, not by accident, but by association with those who refuse to settle for anything less than extraordinary. Now, as your circle sharpens your vision, there's one more tool you must master: the power of focus. In a world drowning in noise, true focus is no longer just a helpful habit. It's your ultimate competitive advantage. Because the ability to direct your full, undivided attention toward one meaningful pursuit is more than rare, it's transformative. While most people drift through scattered efforts, jumping from task to task, those who harness focused energy consistently outperform the distracted majority. And focus isn't just about concentration. It's about intentional dedication to what truly matters. When you commit your mental and emotional energy to a single, significant goal with unwavering determination, things begin to shift. Progress accelerates. Clarity increases. Doors open that were once hidden. When you protect your focus, everything changes. Your productivity multiplies, your expertise deepens, and your overall impact intensifies. As distractions fade, something powerful begins to rise in their place: clarity. But cultivating focus isn't automatic. It requires conscious effort and intentional boundaries. You must become deliberate about what you allow in and what you keep out. That starts with eliminating digital noise. Silence the notifications. Turn off the constant pings. Create blocks of sacred, uninterrupted time for deep work, time that belongs solely to your most meaningful objectives. Focus also demands learning to say no. No to unnecessary meetings. No to commitments that dilute your effectiveness. No to the urge to juggle everything at once. The secret lies in sequential mastery, focusing on one high-impact goal at a time, seeing it through with precision and excellence before moving to the next. The myth of multitasking has stolen countless hours of genuine productivity. Study after study confirms the human brain performs best when it is fully engaged with a single complex task. Every time you shift context, from app to app, task to task, you create cognitive drag. Mental momentum is lost and clarity dissolves. Now imagine this. What would happen if you took all the scattered energy currently spread across a dozen unfinished commitments and redirected it toward one single mission, something that truly matters? What could you build in a year with that level of focused attention? What could you master? What kind of breakthrough could you create? Because when you embrace real focus, you're not just improving how much you get done. You're reclaiming control over your time, your energy, and your direction. Instead of reacting to every external demand, you begin to consciously choose where your energy goes. That intentionality spills into every part of your life. It creates alignment where there was chaos, clarity where there was confusion. The choice before you is simple, but powerful. Will you keep drifting with the distracted majority? Or will you join the focused few? The ones who turn vision into tangible, lasting reality? Because your capacity for focus may be the defining factor between dreams that fade and dreams that are fully realized. And once your focus is aligned, there's one more skill you must master: the language of value. How you communicate directly influences how others perceive your worth. Your words aren't just sounds, they are signals. Signals that tell people what you believe, what you stand for, and whether or not you should be taken seriously. If your language lacks precision, if your voice lacks conviction, your message gets lost, and so does your value. But when you speak with clarity, confidence, and a compelling vision, something shifts. People lean in. They take notice. Because powerful communication doesn't just inform, it inspires. The most influential leaders throughout history understood this. They knew how to use their words not to fill silence, but to spark movement. They spoke with purpose. They communicated in a way that commanded respect and mobilized action. The greatest communicators in history understood something crucial. True leadership communication isn't about fancy words or intellectual jargon. It's about delivering a message with unshakable conviction, a message that cuts through noise, ignites belief, and mobilizes people to act. They mastered the ability to articulate bold goals, simplify complex ideas, and express their mission with such clarity that followers became believers, not just passive listeners. And the good news? You can do the same by consciously upgrading your verbal software. Start by eliminating weak, uncertain phrases from your daily speech. Phrases like I think, maybe, or kind of subtly signal doubt, even when you don't intend them to. Replace them with assertive, confident language that reflects strength and clarity. Say I believe. Say I will. Say I know. These small shifts may seem insignificant, but they dramatically alter the energy behind your message. They tell the world, and yourself, that you are committed, clear, and grounded in purpose. Speak about your aspirations not as distant fantasies, but as realities already taking form. Shift your language from if to when, from I hope to I'm building. Of course, this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires deliberate practice. Start by observing your everyday conversations. Pay close attention to the subtle ways your language may be undercutting your presence. Are you apologizing when no apology is needed? Are you tacking on qualifiers like just checking in? Or this might be a dumb question that quietly weaken your authority. Every one of those moments is an opportunity, a chance to realign your words with your true value. Look to someone like Theodore Roosevelt. His words didn't just transmit ideas, they moved people. He didn't simply inform, he inspired. His legendary "Man in the Arena" speech still echoes today, more than a century later, not because it was linguistically complex, but because it was spoken with deep conviction. He had mastered the language of value, and because of that, his words became timeless. But powerful language isn't just about what you say, it's also about how you say it. Speak at a pace that gives your message room to breathe. Slow down enough that each point lands with clarity. Cut out the nervous fillers, words like like, and you know, that dilute your message and distract your listener. Use eye contact intentionally, not with aggression, but with calm confidence, the kind that commands attention without needing to demand it. And don't underestimate the power of strategic silence. A well-timed pause can give weight to your most important points, allowing them to resonate. Always remember, speaking the language of value isn't about manipulation. It's not about putting on a show or trying to impress with elaborate vocabulary. It's about expressing your authentic worth, clearly, confidently, and without compromise. Your words are a window into your thinking. They reflect your self-perception. They reveal your beliefs about what you deserve and who you are becoming. As you refine your language, something powerful begins to shift. Not just in how others perceive you, but in how you perceive yourself. When you consistently speak as someone who brings value, you start to think and act in alignment with that identity. And as your internal narrative evolves, so does your external reality. This creates a virtuous cycle, one where your words reshape your mindset, and your mindset reshapes your behavior. Practice this intentionally. Make it part of your daily routine. Record your important conversations, whether it's a business pitch, a leadership moment, or a tough negotiation. Then review them with a critical eye. Where did you communicate powerfully? Where did you undercut your own presence? Join speaking groups or communities where feedback is welcomed. Get comfortable hearing what needs improvement. Study the speech patterns of the leaders you admire. Watch how they speak, what they emphasize, how they pause. Because with consistent, conscious effort, the language of value becomes your natural dialect. And when that happens, your worth becomes undeniable, not just to others, but to yourself. Now let's talk about scale. One of the most overlooked principles of success is this. The size of your impact directly correlates with the size of the problems you solve. This truth holds across every industry, every profession, every level of society. The individuals who solve significant problems, the ones that matter, the ones that create change, are the ones who earn the greatest rewards. The marketplace has always been consistent in one thing. Compensation follows contribution. The greater the value you deliver, the greater the rewards you receive. But here's where most people go wrong. They avoid difficulty. They sidestep challenges. They procrastinate on hard decisions. They retreat from anything that feels like resistance. And this widespread avoidance creates an extraordinary opening for those bold enough to run in the other direction. When you deliberately seek out problems, especially the ones others don't want to touch, you become invaluable. You become someone who's not just useful, but indispensable. That's the defining trait of top performers in any field. They run toward complexity, not away from it. They don't complain about obstacles, they engineer solutions. They don't just spot what's broken, they design what works better. This mindset shift, from problem avoidance to problem ownership, is what transforms a replaceable worker into a high-value asset. And it all begins internally. The next time a challenge appears, notice your instinctive response. Do you shrink? Do you complain? Or do you lean in? Resist the victim voice that asks, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, adopt the visionary's question. How can I use this moment to create value for others? That one shift in language redirects your energy from frustration to innovation, from helplessness to forward motion. Think of Florence Nightingale, a woman whose impact didn't just change lives, it changed systems. During the Crimean War, she was confronted with horrific conditions in military field hospitals. But she didn't stop at treating the wounded one patient at a time. Instead, she tackled the entire system. She addressed not only the care itself, but the root causes: poor sanitation, disorganization, and the lack of meaningful data collection. By attacking the problem from multiple angles, she reduced death rates and pioneered standards that became the foundation of modern nursing and hospital design. Her willingness to face overwhelming, deeply embedded issues and actually solve them is what made her a transformative figure in medical history. This same pattern shows up across every industry. Tech entrepreneurs who solve meaningful user problems, not superficial ones, build billion-dollar companies. Scientists who dive into the messy, underfunded, and misunderstood corners of research make the discoveries that shift paradigms. Leaders who address internal dysfunctions, the kind most people tiptoe around, are the ones who create teams that thrive, cultures that last, and organizations that rise. The principle is timeless and consistent. Those who solve bigger problems earn bigger rewards. So where do you begin? You don't need to go out and change the world overnight. Start where you are. Look for problems hidden in plain sight, right in your current environment. What do your colleagues frequently complain about? What process feels broken, inefficient, or needlessly frustrating? What customer pain points keep surfacing without resolution? These aren't just annoyances, they're opportunities. Each one is a signal, a chance for you to step in and create exceptional value. But don't just throw ideas at the wall. Approach each challenge methodically. Begin by defining the problem clearly. Be specific. Vague problems produce vague results. Then do your research. What solutions already exist? Why haven't they worked? What's the real obstacle at the core? From there, develop innovative, practical approaches. You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but you do need to bring a fresh lens. Once your plan is in place, implement with discipline. Test, adapt, and execute with precision. And just as importantly, document your results. Track the impact. Measure what improved. Show the before and after. Because when you solve real problems and show your work, you don't just build value. You build a reputation as someone who gets things done, someone who delivers results instead of excuses. Keep in mind that problem solving, like any other high-value skill, doesn't just appear overnight. It grows through intentional, repeated practice. The key is to start with challenges that stretch you just beyond your current comfort zone. Problems that require you to think harder, dig deeper, and respond more creatively than you normally would. Then, as you gain confidence and sharpen your abilities, deliberately take on increasingly complex challenges. Each time you solve something harder than before, you're not just checking a box, you're upgrading your capacity for what comes next. That's how growth happens. The most valuable problems, those with the power to elevate your career, reputation, and income, are often found right where your unique skills intersect with a genuine market need. Think about it. Your background, your talents, your perspective, your experiences, they create a lens through which you can spot gaps, inefficiencies, or opportunities that others completely overlook. And when you match that personal edge with real-world demand, you create something powerful, a repeating source of opportunity. So ask yourself honestly, what significant problem have you been sidestepping? What challenge keeps coming up that you quietly hope will go away? Often, that very challenge holds the key to your next level. It's not a threat. It's an invitation. Lean into it. Give it everything. Approach it with all the skill, creativity, and persistence you can muster. The greater the problem, the greater the transformation when you overcome it. Each victory builds not just your results, but your reputation and rewards. And as your problem-solving ability grows, so does your capacity to create wealth. That's why you must become a student of wealth. Because long-term financial prosperity is never the result of random luck. It's the outcome of deliberate learning, strategic thinking, and disciplined execution. The people who build and keep wealth don't treat money casually. They don't cross their fingers and hope it works out. They study it. They learn how it flows, how it compounds, and how to shift from being controlled by it to confidently directing it. While others pour endless hours into passive entertainment, scrolling, and distraction, the financially wise spend that same time understanding the systems and principles that govern money. Your journey begins with simple awareness. Start tracking every dollar, where it goes, what it builds, and what it costs you. How much are you spending on fleeting pleasures? How much are you investing in a better future? This single habit, knowing exactly where your money is going, will uncover habits, leaks, and opportunities you never noticed before. And from that clarity comes control. From control comes growth. And from growth comes freedom. A budget may act as your financial blueprint, but it's only one layer of the foundation. The true architectural vision lies in your mindset, specifically in understanding how to convert income into enduring assets. That mindset is what separates those who simply earn from those who build lasting wealth. Treat your financial development with the same seriousness you'd bring to mastering any academic discipline. Just as you wouldn't expect to become a mathematician after glancing at a few formulas, you can't expect to master money without dedicated study and intentional practice. Start by immersing yourself in the writings of proven wealth builders. These aren't just books, they're roadmaps. Explore various investment vehicles, stocks, real estate, private equity, business ownership. Don't just memorize the terms. Understand the mechanisms, the risks, and the long-term benefits of each option. And above all, internalize one of the most powerful financial laws, compound interest. It's a silent force that either accelerates your freedom through wise investing or tightens your chains through debt. The direction it works depends entirely on your choices. Consider the example of Mayer Amschel Rothschild, the founder of one of history's most influential banking dynasties. Born into humble beginnings, he wasn't handed vast wealth. He earned it through deliberate learning. While working in a banking house, he absorbed the language of money, how currencies fluctuate, how markets move, how capital grows. He didn't rely on chance or trend chasing. He focused on creating systems, repeatable, scalable strategies that produced value over time. That's how he built not just personal wealth, but a legacy that continued for generations. This is the power of financial literacy. It doesn't just help you make better choices. It reshapes your entire relationship with money. Without it, finances can feel chaotic, emotional, even frightening. But with knowledge, the fog clears. You begin to see money as a tool governed by principles, not a mystery to fear, but a system to master. Eventually, your focus shifts. No longer are you trading time for money indefinitely. Instead, you're building assets that produce income on your behalf, even while you sleep. The truth is, wealthy people aren't operating with some secret manual. They simply prioritized financial education long before most others thought it mattered. And that one decision, repeated over time, has a compounding effect more powerful than most realize. It's what creates the growing divide between those who control money and those who remain controlled by it. Remember, true wealth isn't just about the amount of money you accumulate. It's about what that money empowers you to do, about the freedom it creates, the options it unlocks, and the impact it enables. Financial literacy gives you the power to support causes that resonate with your heart, care for the people you love most, and pursue your life's calling without fear or desperation. Because ultimately, real wealth isn't measured by your bank balance. It's defined by how wisely and intentionally you use your resources. Make the decision today to become a lifelong student of financial wisdom. Carve out intentional time each week to deepen your understanding. Set clear, measurable goals for expanding your financial knowledge. Don't rely solely on trial and error. Seek out mentors whose results reflect not just prosperity, but sustainability. When you fully understand how wealth works, something powerful happens. Money stops being a mysterious pursuit and becomes a dependable tool. a tool that can serve your highest values and help fulfill your most meaningful aspirations. Build a legacy, not just a lifestyle. That simple shift in focus separates those who chase fleeting satisfaction from those who leave behind lasting influence. While lifestyle is about immediate comfort and temporary pleasure, legacy is about constructing something enduring, something that echoes beyond your lifetime. This change in mindset transforms how you invest your time, your energy, and your money. A lifestyle-driven approach often revolves around questions like, what can I get today? Or how can I impress others now? While comfort and enjoyment certainly have their place, a life driven solely by consumption tends to fade as quickly as it was lived. It creates a story that ends the moment you do. Legacy thinking, on the other hand, stretches your vision far beyond the present moment. It asks a more profound question: what will endure after I'm gone? Will your children inherit just financial assets, or a philosophy strong enough to guide their own decisions through life? Will your name fade, or will your mission continue to inspire long after you're no longer here? Will your contributions vanish with time, or will they live on through systems, ideas, or institutions that continue adding value for future generations? When you begin to think this way, your daily decisions start to shift. What once seemed urgent loses its grip, and what truly matters rises to the forefront. Legacy isn't built in a day. It's built daily, with intention and with purpose. Short-term thinking fades as long-view wisdom begins to take hold. You start making decisions not just for yourself, but for something larger than you. Self-interest evolves into a mindset of service. Accumulation gives way to contribution, and your measure of success shifts from what you collect to what you create, and more importantly, who you uplift in the process. Think of William Wilberforce. His unyielding crusade to end slavery in the British Empire spanned over 2 decades. He faced relentless resistance, endured political setbacks, and sacrificed personal comfort. Yet, he never gave up. Why? Because his mission was rooted in something far greater than himself. He challenged a system so deeply entrenched that many believed it would never change. And yet, through unwavering purpose and sustained effort, he altered history. His legacy still echoes centuries later, not because he enjoyed a luxurious life, but because he aligned his life with a cause that outlived him. Legacy isn't a happy accident. It's built with intent and discipline. It starts with defining your deepest values, the principles you refuse to compromise on. What do you stand for, even when it's inconvenient? What truths would you still defend, even if no one applauded? That clarity becomes your foundation. Then comes the question of contribution. What can you uniquely offer the world? Your story, your talents, your struggles. They've all shaped a perspective and a skill set that no one else can replicate. When you align those gifts with meaningful service, you begin to create something lasting. But it doesn't stop there. To build legacy, you must also design systems, structures, routines, or institutions that carry your impact beyond your direct involvement. Legacy is not just what you do while you're alive. It's what continues after you're gone because of how intentionally you built it. This kind of thinking reshapes everything, especially your relationships. You no longer see people as part of a network to be used, but as souls to be elevated. You approach each connection as a chance to share values, spark transformation, and build something that matters. Your view of wealth changes too. It stops being a status symbol and becomes a tool for empowering others, funding missions, and planting seeds that grow into trees you may never sit under. Even your career transforms. It becomes more than a paycheck. It becomes a platform, a stage upon which you model integrity, inspire others, and multiply impact. You start to ask not just, what can I earn, but what can I leave behind that lasts? This mindset, legacy thinking, is not the exclusive domain of the wealthy, the powerful, or the publicly celebrated. In truth, it's available to everyone. Teachers leave legacies not by headlines, but through the hearts and minds of students who carry their wisdom into new generations. Parents shape legacies through the values they instill in their children, values that echo long after words are forgotten. Entrepreneurs forge legacies by building businesses that solve real problems and serve communities well beyond their own involvement. Artists leave traces of their spirit in works that inspire, provoke, and uplift for decades, sometimes centuries. So the question is, what are you building right now that will outlast you? Begin by assessing your current trajectory with honest reflection. Are you simply checking boxes on a to-do list, or are you laying the foundation for something that matters? Are you mentoring someone who will carry your mission forward? Are you documenting your knowledge, your lessons, your insights, so that they won't vanish with you? Have you put systems in place that continue to serve others even after you're no longer directly involved? Legacy isn't some lofty concept. It's built one day at a time, one decision at a time. So wake up each morning not just with a schedule, but with a sense of mission. Let that mission shape how you plan, how you work, how you lead, and how you live. Design your days with intention. Productivity is important, but purpose is what gives productivity its power. Structure your life with the understanding that real wealth isn't measured by temporary possessions, but by what endures. What remains when you're no longer here? That's your true legacy. And as you pursue this path, never lose your hunger. Stay humble. These two forces, humility and hunger, form a powerful, necessary tension that fuels long-term success. The moment ego enters the equation, it begins to quietly sabotage your potential. Ego tells you you've arrived, even when the journey is only just beginning. The truly successful never let previous wins lull them into complacency. They acknowledge their progress, yes, but they don't let that recognition become a ceiling. They understand that yesterday's victories are no guarantee for tomorrow's relevance. That's why humility becomes the engine of continuous growth. It keeps you open, curious, receptive to new perspectives, and unafraid to admit what you don't yet know. Without it, you become unteachable. And the unteachable mind is the one most likely to stagnate. The moment you decide you've learned enough is the moment your progress halts. Ironically, the most accomplished people in the world, the ones with accolades, wealth, and influence, often possess an almost childlike eagerness to keep learning. They sit in rooms where they're not the smartest. They ask questions. They seek feedback, because they know the mind that stays open stays growing. Hunger becomes the propulsion system of greatness. It's the quiet, unwavering force that drives you forward, especially when others slow down, get comfortable, or settle. But make no mistake, this isn't just about raw ambition. It's rooted in a deep awareness that most of human potential remains untapped. No matter how far you've come, there's more within you waiting to be discovered. Each milestone, instead of being a finish line, becomes a new vantage point revealing challenges and possibilities that were previously hidden from view. It's a bit like climbing a mountain. Every summit you reach unveils a higher peak in the distance, challenging you to rise again, to evolve again, to stretch into a more capable version of yourself. And that's where the magic happens, where growth and greatness converge. But hunger alone isn't enough. It must walk hand in hand with humility. These two forces create a powerful synergy that elevates and sustains. Without humility, hunger becomes reckless, leading to impulsive choices, shallow victories, and, often, dramatic downfalls. On the flip side, humility without hunger can leave you grounded, full of insights but paralyzed by overanalysis and inaction. Together, they create the ideal balance. Humility keeps you grounded in reality. Hunger pushes you forward toward what's possible. One tempers the ego, the other ignites the fire. This mindset isn't just theoretical. It shows up in how you operate every day. You begin asking deep, meaningful questions instead of trying to impress with ready-made answers. You stop pretending to know everything and start seeking guidance from those who challenge and stretch your thinking. You embrace gaps in your knowledge not as weaknesses, but as opportunities to grow. And perhaps most importantly, you reach back to help others still climbing. Because you understand that lifting others doesn't reduce your strength, it reinforces your legacy. Look at Jack Johnson, the legendary fighter who, in 1908, became the first black heavyweight boxing champion. He wasn't just battling men in the ring. He was confronting a system built to suppress him. With every punch, he defied the boundaries that racism tried to enforce. And yet, despite his fame and victories, Johnson never allowed ego to sabotage his excellence. Even at his peak, he trained with discipline, refined his craft relentlessly, and stayed mindful of the greater meaning behind his success. He understood that his journey wasn't just about winning titles. It was about breaking ceilings for those who came after him. He refused to accept limitations, whether imposed by the world around him or by his own achievements. That's why his legacy still echoes today. Because the journey to greatness isn't a short sprint. It's not a race with a finish line. It's more like an infinite game, a lifelong pursuit of becoming, evolving, and serving. And in that pursuit, the real question isn't how much you've achieved, but how much you've grown, how many you've empowered, and how far you're still willing to go. There is no final destination on the road to greatness. No ultimate winning state where you can finally rest and declare the journey complete. Those who maintain lasting excellence know this truth intimately. They're not playing to finish the game. They're playing to continue evolving. Each new sunrise is not just another day. It's a fresh invitation to grow, to stretch, to contribute beyond yesterday's limits. Remind yourself, again and again, you are in a state of becoming, not arriving. The path forward doesn't end. It unfolds, offering an infinite sequence of lessons, tests, and possibilities to anyone willing to keep moving. Your most impactful accomplishments may still lie beyond the horizon, waiting for the version of you that's humble enough to keep learning and bold enough to keep climbing. It's within this ongoing mindset where true meaning is forged, not in status, trophies, or titles, but in the relentless pursuit of growth and contribution. That's where legacy begins. So stay humble, stay hungry, keep walking the path, and watch how far it takes you. Now shift your attention to a different kind of fuel, one that's more difficult to embrace, yet often more transformative than success: pain. It arrives unannounced in every life. Sometimes as a brief sting, other times as a deep, prolonged ache. Whether it's loss, failure, betrayal, or disappointment, suffering is a universal part of the human experience. And in its presence, we're all faced with the same powerful question: will this pain define me, or will it refine me? Most people naturally recoil from discomfort. They distract themselves, deny the hurt, or bury it beneath layers of false positivity. But those who decide to face pain head-on, who choose to extract purpose from their most difficult moments, unlock a wellspring of strength and direction that comfort could never offer. The most powerful shift you can make is this: stop seeing pain as punishment. Begin to view it as preparation. Every trial you endure becomes a training ground for resilience, for empathy, for wisdom, qualities that rarely grow in easy seasons. This mindset doesn't pretend that suffering is easy or fair. Instead, it honors it by asking a better question. Not, why is this happening to me? But what is this preparing me for? That single question can flip the script entirely. To truly harness pain, you must begin with honesty. Acknowledge your wounds. Speak them aloud or write them down. Avoid the trap of masking them with motivational cliches. Document your journey through journaling or reflection, not as a way to dwell on the struggle, but to extract the lesson, to crystallize the insight before it fades. Let your scars become your wisdom. Let your story become your strength. Share your journey with discernment, offering your story to those walking similar roads, those who can draw strength from your scars. When pain is processed with intention, it becomes more than a personal burden. It becomes a bridge. Its greatest gift lies in the empathy it fosters. Once you've made it through your own darkness, you begin to recognize the shadows in others' lives with a sensitivity that only lived experience can teach. Isn't it remarkable how the very moments we thought would break us are what most prepare us to connect? Your wounds, once healed, become your credentials, silent proof of battles endured and lessons learned. They open doors that would otherwise remain locked. They grant you access to serve in ways others simply cannot. Look at Helen Keller. She lost both sight and hearing before she was even 2 years old. To most, such a fate would seem like a sentence to a life of isolation and silence. But for Helen, it became the very soil where a deeper kind of vision took root. Her sensory deprivation, rather than limiting her, became the foundation of extraordinary insight. As she once wrote, the marvelous richness of human experience would lose something of its rewarding joy if there were no limitations to overcome. Her voice, born from silence, continues to echo across generations, not despite her pain, but because of it. Pain also clarifies. It strips away the superficial and leaves behind only what truly matters. When you're forced to face hardship, your priorities are reordered, sharpened. The entrepreneur who hits rock bottom often uncovers a resilience they never imagined they possessed. The grieving heart learns compassion that reshapes every relationship. The injured athlete, stripped of motion, often discovers a deeper discipline than they had before the setback. But this transformation isn't automatic. It requires intention. It begins with the questions you ask yourself in the middle of the storm. What lesson is hidden here? How might this pain become a pathway for someone else? What kind of strength is being forged in me right now? Ask these questions, and you shift the narrative. You go from victim to creator, from breakdown to breakthrough. When it feels like life is tearing you apart, perhaps it's building something greater within you. Could it be that the very moments designed to crush you are actually shaping you for your highest contribution? Because your blend of successes and sufferings creates a lens no one else can replicate. That is your advantage. That is your uniqueness. Pain will visit every life. It's unavoidable. But the deeper question remains. What will that pain give rise to in you? Will your pain leave you bitter or better? Will it make you fragile, or will it forge you into something formidable? In many ways, this is one of the most defining choices you'll ever make. The decision to transform pain into power becomes not just a coping mechanism, but the foundation of your most enduring legacy. And from that transformation flows a crucial mindset. Act as if you already hold value, because you do. The way you see yourself internally becomes the silent architect of your external results. Your self-image, often invisible to others but deeply known to you, shapes the boundaries of what you believe is possible. And what you believe is possible dictates how you live. When you see yourself as ordinary or insignificant, that belief seeps into every interaction. It shows up in your voice, your posture, your choices. You speak with hesitation, you move with caution, and your expectations shrink to fit your self-concept. But when you begin to truly recognize your worth, everything changes. You naturally start making decisions, forming habits, and seizing opportunities that align with your elevated self-image. This isn't about pretending. It's not about putting on a show or crafting a persona. It's not fake it till you make it. It's about authentic alignment, matching your actions with your highest potential, even if you haven't fully stepped into it yet. It's about becoming today who you're destined to be tomorrow. Imagine someone who knows they are valuable. How do they walk through life? They aren't distracted by short-term gratification. They focus on what lasts. They prioritize quality, not quantity. They guard their time as if it were treasure. They speak not to impress, but to express, with confidence, not apology. These behaviors aren't for show. They're simply expressions of self-respect. Your body language alone communicates volumes before you say a single word. Standing tall, meeting someone's eyes, dressing intentionally, these aren't performances. They're external confirmations of internal belief. It's not about crafting an image to manipulate how others see you. It's about creating congruence between how you carry yourself and who you truly are. When your outer presence reflects your inner worth, people don't just notice. You begin to believe it even more deeply yourself. Language is one of the most revealing signs of self-worth. Those who value themselves don't diminish their statements with phrases like, just checking in, or sorry to bother you. They don't preface ideas with this might be stupid, or soften convictions with I think, maybe. Instead, they speak directly and deliberately, replacing doubt with decisiveness. They communicate their ideas with clarity and conviction. They ask questions without hesitation and express their needs without feeling the need to over-explain. That kind of directness doesn't come from arrogance. It flows from the quiet belief that their voice matters, that their thoughts are worthy of expression. You'll notice this same principle reflected in their financial behaviors. People who understand their intrinsic worth don't undervalue their contributions. They charge fees that match the true value they deliver, not out of greed, but from alignment with the results they produce. Instead of obsessing over short-term gains, they invest in long-term growth. They see themselves not just as earners, but as builders, individuals capable of creating wealth that lasts. They don't just work for money. They build systems, assets, and networks that grow independently of their immediate labor. They recognize that true abundance begins with how they see themselves, not as someone lucky to have enough, but as someone capable of generating more than enough for a purpose beyond themselves. This self-valuation reveals itself most clearly in relationships. People rooted in genuine self-worth don't shrink to fit into spaces that don't see them. They set boundaries that protect their peace. They speak their truth, even if it's uncomfortable, and they walk away. Not out of bitterness, but because they understand that staying in environments that diminish them erodes the very foundation of their potential. They choose people, places, and partnerships that affirm their value without needing constant proof. It's not pride, it's discernment. This intentional selectivity doesn't limit their world, it refines it. It filters out distractions and drama, leaving space only for what's aligned, reciprocal, and elevating. At the heart of all this is a powerful psychological principle: congruence. When how you act matches who you truly are and who you are becoming, internal friction disappears. The noise of self-doubt fades. And with that clarity, a new energy is released. Energy that was once wasted on second-guessing and self-sabotage. Now, it's redirected toward purpose and possibility. And here's the beauty of it. This mindset shift creates a positive feedback loop. When you behave as someone of value, the world begins responding accordingly. Those responses validate your self-worth, reinforcing the belief that you do, in fact, belong in bigger rooms and on larger stages. Over time, what began as a deliberate choice transforms into a natural identity. You no longer need to remind yourself that you're valuable. You live like it, think like it, and move like it without even trying. Eventually, you stop pretending to be valuable. You simply live as someone who is. But here's a crucial truth. This identity must be built on real contribution, not entitlement. Embodying your worth isn't about demanding recognition. It's about becoming someone who consistently delivers value before expecting any return. It means sharpening your skills, deepening your insights, and cultivating capabilities that genuinely benefit others. Without that foundation of contribution, any show of confidence becomes hollow, surface-level performance rather than authentic power. Real self-worth is inseparable from real service. And it doesn't require dramatic reinvention. It begins with subtle but intentional changes. Start by paying attention to the disconnects between your self-image and your current actions. Are you saying sorry for things that don't need apology? Are you underpricing your work, accepting disrespect, or settling for output below your true potential? Each of these moments offers a doorway, a chance to bring your external actions into alignment with your internal vision of who you are becoming. Make this alignment a daily practice. Before stepping into an important conversation, pause and visualize yourself fully grounded in your value. Ask yourself, how would someone who honors their worth walk into this room? What would they say? What energy would they carry? Then choose to show up in that way, not as a performance to impress others, but as a reflection of the potential you already carry within. Expand this mindset little by little until it becomes second nature. With repetition, your actions, tone, posture, and decisions begin to reflect a deep, unshakable recognition of your worth. And remember, your value isn't something you must earn through accolades or approval. It isn't tied to the number in your bank account or the titles after your name. It is your birthright. Your accomplishments don't make you valuable, they express your value. So don't wait for circumstances to catch up. Don't postpone living in alignment with your worth until you feel more qualified or validated. Begin now. Step into your value today, and you'll be amazed at how quickly the world responds. Because when your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. Now, shift your focus outward. In a world driven by passive consumption, one of the boldest moves you can make is to become a creator. The average person spends the majority of their time absorbing, scrolling through social feeds, binge-watching, skimming headlines, engaging in conversations that rarely lead to action. And while information has its place, this lopsided pattern creates a serious imbalance. It's a pattern that numbs fulfillment and stalls growth. Those who flip the equation, those who create more than they consume, often find themselves on a fast track toward influence, fulfillment, and sustainable success. In every economy, creation is the true engine of value. While consumers take from what others have built, creators inject something new, something meaningful, into the world. This doesn't always mean inventing the next big tech product or writing a best-selling book. Creation can take many shapes, developing solutions that address real problems, offering services that elevate others, producing content that educates or inspires, crafting innovations that push industries forward, or even creating art that shifts perception and sparks emotion. The critical factor isn't what you create. It's that you show up to create it all, and do so consistently. It's the discipline of contribution that separates those who shape the future from those who simply observe it unfold. Consumption, when it dominates your daily life, operates from a mindset of scarcity. It suggests the world is limited, that you must take what you can while it lasts. Creation, on the other hand, flows from a mindset of abundance. It says, there's more to be made. There's more within me. Let's build. That mental shift alone changes everything. Suddenly, the question is no longer what can I get today, but what can I give today? And when that question becomes your daily compass, something remarkable happens. You begin to attract resources, people, and possibilities that match your creative output. To start, take an honest look at your own creation to consumption ratio. How much of your time is spent absorbing versus producing? For most people, the numbers are shockingly imbalanced, often 90% consumption, 10% creation. And yet, even a modest reversal of this ratio can lead to exponential improvement. Don't aim for perfection on day one. Begin with small, tangible acts of creation. Write a note that uplifts someone. Solve a recurring issue at work instead of merely discussing it. Improve a space in your home rather than complaining about its flaws. These may seem insignificant, but each creative choice strengthens a powerful muscle. The ability to initiate, to contribute, to make something where nothing existed before. What often holds us back isn't a lack of skill, it's inertia. The blank screen, the empty canvas, the first awkward draft, they're all intimidating. But creation isn't about starting perfectly, it's about starting at all. And each time you do, you sharpen your ability and build momentum. What starts out clumsy and uncertain eventually evolves into fluid expression. The creator who writes 1,000 imperfect blog posts ends up mastering their craft far more than the perfectionist who never publishes a single word. Progress favors the one who shows up and produces, even when the result isn't flawless. Consider Louis Pasteur. He didn't limit himself to absorbing the existing body of scientific knowledge. Instead, he turned theory into tangible breakthroughs through tireless experimentation. His creation of vaccines and the pasteurization process saved millions, not because he waited for perfect conditions or inspiration, but because he pushed forward with disciplined, applied effort. His famous quote, "Chance favors the prepared mind," isn't about luck. It's a reminder that real breakthroughs come from combining knowledge with action. Creating doesn't just result in output. It yields compound benefits that stretch far beyond the work itself. First, creation sharpens your expertise because mastery is achieved through doing, not just learning. Second, it produces a body of work that speaks louder than any degree or certification ever could. Third, it helps you stand out in a crowded world. When everyone's consuming, creators are the ones who are noticed. Fourth, it builds assets, intellectual property that can generate value long after the work is done. And fifth, it forges connections with other creators, opening doors to collaborations and new opportunities that would never emerge through passive observation alone. Everyone has creative potential. Some express it through storytelling, others through innovation, organization, design, or service. The real question isn't if you're creative. It's whether you're exercising that creativity consistently enough to let it shape something meaningful. Creation doesn't demand grand gestures. In fact, it thrives on small, intentional contributions repeated over time. Writing just 3 thoughtful paragraphs a day can result in a book by year's end. Solving one small inefficiency each week can quietly revolutionize your workplace. Reaching out to one new connection each month can lead to a network that opens doors you never saw coming. Striking the right balance between input and output doesn't mean you stop learning, but it does mean you make sure learning is fueling creation, not replacing it. Strategic consumption, whether through reading, studying, or observing, plays a vital role in fueling your creativity. But here's the catch. Consumption should always serve creation, not become a substitute for it. When you overconsume without producing, you end up overwhelmed, mentally full but creatively starved. The most effective creators understand this balance. They carefully curate what they consume, filtering out distractions and intentionally selecting content that directly enriches their output. To consistently stay in creation mode, you must establish intentional rituals that guide your behavior away from passive habits. Begin by setting dedicated blocks of time each day for focused creation, before checking emails, scrolling social media, or diving into content. Prioritize output before input. This simple shift changes everything. Hold yourself accountable by making public commitments or teaming up with collaborators who rely on your contribution. Reduce resistance by organizing your creative environment ahead of time, so when it's time to create, nothing stands in your way. Track your progress visually, whether through a journal, a calendar, or a simple checklist. This visual momentum can be incredibly motivating. Celebrate small creative victories. These wins, no matter how minor, reinforce the habit neurologically. And most importantly, ask yourself one powerful question each day. What did I create today? If you notice a pattern of consumption without production, you've identified the exact point where transformation must begin. Because this small shift, from consuming to creating, can set off a chain reaction. It turns you from a spectator into a contributor, from someone who takes value into someone who generates it. You move from simply participating in the marketplace to shaping it. This is the quiet but powerful shift that elevates an ordinary career into one that leaves a lasting legacy. At the heart of this transformation lies a fundamental decision, one you must make over and over again. Choose faith over fear. These two forces are constantly at war within you. Fear clings to the worst-case scenario, feeding hesitation. Faith whispers of what's possible if you dare to try. Which voice are you allowing to guide your choices? Fear once had its place. It kept our ancestors alive by alerting them to predators and danger. But in modern life, that same protective instinct can sabotage your progress. Today, fear doesn't warn you of lions in the tall grass. It makes you shrink from social risks, new ideas, or uncertain outcomes. Left unchecked, it convinces you to play small, remain comfortable, and avoid anything unfamiliar. It becomes a silent jailer, locking you into a limited life defined by safety instead of significance. Faith, in contrast to fear, opens up your vision and stretches the boundaries of what you believe is possible. This isn't the kind of blind faith that ignores reality. Rather, it's a grounded, intelligent confidence rooted in the belief that something greater can emerge if you're willing to take the step. Faith acknowledges the difficulties ahead, but holds fast to the idea that you're capable of meeting them. It understands that real growth often demands a leap into the unknown, into places where outcomes are uncertain and guarantees are absent. And isn't that where all meaningful breakthroughs tend to occur, beyond the edge of what we already understand? Faith thrives in the space where fear would tell you to turn back. It doesn't pretend the risks don't exist. It simply refuses to let them dictate your direction. Developing this kind of faith-driven decision-making begins with careful attention to the conversations you're having with yourself. When an opportunity appears, which voice do you hear more clearly? The one whispering reasons to stay small, or the one urging you towards something greater? Fear usually comes armed with a barrage of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I lose everything? But faith offers its own powerful counter-questions. What if this works better than I imagined? What if this moment unlocks a strength I never knew I had? What if the very struggle I'm avoiding holds the breakthrough I've been seeking? Faith, though, isn't simply a feeling. It must be cultivated and reinforced with intention. Start by writing affirmations that directly contradict the fears holding you back. Say them out loud until your nervous system starts believing them. Visualize the best-case scenarios in detail, so clearly that your mind begins to treat them as real. Surround yourself with people who embody courage, whose belief in possibility is stronger than their fear of risk. Their mindset will rub off on you. But perhaps most importantly, act. Again and again, take steps aligned with your highest vision, not your deepest worry. Even small actions, taken with conviction, begin to shift your trajectory toward boldness and progress. Consider Harriet Tubman. After escaping slavery herself, she didn't simply settle into safety. She returned, not once, not twice, but 19 times, into the heart of danger, leading around 70 others to freedom. Every journey meant navigating threats, patrolling soldiers, dense forests, betrayal from within, and constant danger of capture. You might wonder, didn't she feel fear? Of course. But her faith in divine protection, in the promise of freedom, and in her own relentless courage, consistently drowned out the noise of fear. It was her unwavering faith that allowed Harriet Tubman to see possibilities where others saw only barriers. That same faith gave her the clarity to identify paths to freedom others couldn't even imagine. This kind of grounded belief doesn't just influence your thinking, it shapes your very presence. You can see it, feel it. People gripped by fear often move hesitantly, speak with uncertainty, and carry an energy of doubt. Their posture shrinks, their words trail off, their potential remains hidden. But those moved by faith, they walk taller. Their speech carries weight. Their energy communicates certainty, even when the path ahead remains unclear. And this contrast is far from cosmetic. It deeply influences how the world responds to you. Doors tend to open more readily for those whose inner conviction overshadows hesitation. Why? Because people are naturally drawn to those who appear sure of their direction. This tension between faith and fear plays a defining role in entrepreneurship, perhaps more than in any other arena. Every transformative venture, every product, every invention that changed the market began as a fragile, uncertain idea. Before it was celebrated, it was doubted. Before it was profitable, it was mocked. That app you now use daily? At one point, it was just someone's improbable sketch on a napkin. That revolutionary solution you admire? It started as a problem others had long abandoned as impossible. Entrepreneurs who consistently choose faith over fear don't just survive the roller coaster of innovation, they embrace it. They see detours not as defeats, but as divine redirections. They understand that uncertainty is the price of vision, and instead of backing away, they lean in. This quiet yet powerful choice between faith and fear isn't a one-time decision. It shows up in the smallest moments of your everyday life. Will you raise your hand and speak your truth in the meeting, or let the moment pass in silence? Will you finally launch that idea you've been sitting on, or let it linger in the shadows of procrastination? Will you face a difficult conversation head-on, or sidestep the discomfort yet again? Will you invest in your own growth, or cling to the comfort of what's familiar, even if it's limiting you? Each of these choices might seem insignificant in isolation, but strung together, they form the trajectory of your entire life. Moment by moment, you're either stepping into a future shaped by courage or retreating into the illusion of safety. What direction are your daily choices pointing you in? Here's the paradox. Fear whispers promises of security, comfort, safety, predictability. But true stability doesn't come from hiding from challenges. It comes from developing the inner strength, the deep, unshakable faith that you can rise to meet them. Security isn't found in a life free of problems. It's found in becoming someone who can handle any problem that comes their way. And that kind of resilience only grows through experience, through showing up in uncertainty again and again, with faith as your compass. So today, pause and choose with intention. Will you continue letting fear shrink your possibilities? Or will you let faith lead you to everything you're truly capable of? Fear builds a life of quiet compromise, one filled with untaken chances and unrealized potential. But faith? Faith builds a life of bold fulfillment, one where you can look back and know you became all you were meant to be. Choose faith, not once, but again and again. Let it be the rhythm of your days, the backdrop to your decisions. Watch how new doors open, how people respond, how opportunities multiply, ones that fear would have kept hidden from view. And as you move forward, remember, don't just chase success or wealth. Become the kind of person that success is drawn to naturally. Focus on refining your skills, expanding your mindset, and increasing your ability to create meaningful value. Every day you wait is a day of potential left untapped. Don't wait. Begin now. Grow boldly. Push limits. Refuse to settle for anything less than your highest self. The world doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards those who go all in. This is your time. Your rise starts here. Wishing you strength, happiness, and unstoppable momentum. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more empowering insights.